Drifting. It's the one thing every car guy likes to think they've mastered, but let's face it, most of us are way too scared to even try. But when someone nails drifting and achieves that perfect balance between control and chaos, it's simply art.
Pitch it hard, break it loose, and just drive it with the throttle.
So stick around as we have a look at the tire-screaming, physics-defying world of drifting and see how a simple technique born in Japan became the coolest thing you can do on 4 wheels. Despite Hollywood showing you that drifting was created in the Japanese mountains, its true origins were actually on the track, with the racer called Kunimitsu Takahashi, better known as Kuni-san. Kuni-san's story begins on 2 wheels, not 4, and as you might expect from the father of drifting, he was known for his fearless style and daring moves. But at the Isle of Man TT, yes, that Isle of Man TT, the 200 miles per hour on 2 wheels between walls 2 meters apart Isle of Man TT, he binned it and suffered a pretty terrifying accident. After such a close scrape with death, Kuni-san hung up his leather riding gear and instead decided to conquer the world of 4-wheel motorsport. Kuni-san found himself driving for the Nissan racing team, piloting the iconic first-generation Hakosuka GTR in the Japanese Touring Car Championship. You see, at the time, tire technology was vastly underpowered compared to car technology and simply couldn't handle the whopping 160 horsepower that the racers were churning out. Because of this, most of the other drivers would be quite timid on their tires, entering the corner slowly and feathering the throttle in order to maintain traction. But Kuni-san, he wasn't a normal driver now, was he? Instead, he decided to adopt a less conventional method. What he did was mash the throttle and let the car slide through the corner, praying that at some point the tires would hook up and rocket him away. What he was doing was drifting. This drifting allowed Kuni-san to maintain much higher speeds through the corners, absolutely decimating the competition and stunning the crowds. And one day, amongst that stunned crowd sat a young Keichi Tsuchiya, the future king of drifting. After witnessing what Kuni-san had done on the track, the young Keiichi Tsuchiya was inspired. And when Tsuchiya finally managed to get his hands on a car, he spent 4 whole years honing in his drifting skills on the winding mountain passes of Japan. You see, these mountain roads, better known as toge, were home to some less than legal racing. And by the time Tsuchiya had finished his training and started participating in these illegal street races, he was absolutely trashing the other Hashiriya. All the other drivers would see was a cloud of tire smoke and Tsuchiya's taillights disappearing into the darkness. In fact, Tsuchiya's drifting skills on the toge had become so renowned that he ended up getting headhunted by some professional race teams. He started off in the rookie classes, piloting some fun little economy cars like the Nissan Sunny and Toyota Corolla. Even though he was absolutely dominating these series, he knew he was destined for more. So after begging and begging his sponsors, he was finally upgraded to another Toyota Corolla. But you see, this wasn't any other Toyota Corolla. This was an AE86 Corolla. For those of you who've never heard of it, the AE86 was no normal Toyota. It was a little rear-wheel drive, lightweight sports car renowned for its exceptional handling, perfect balance, and of course that rev-happy engine. And when Tsuchiya took his AE86 for a spin, it was love at first drive. It was a match made in heaven. The Corolla's balance made it ideal for Tsuchiya's precision drifting style, and his AE86's iconic black and white livery became immortalized in Initial D. As you might expect, Tsuchiya dominated every single racing series he entered with his little AE86. And honestly, to say he dominated is a bit of an understatement. He was winning so easily that he was getting bored. And what happens when a racing driver gets bored? Well, they start having a little bit of fun and showing off. And just like his idol Kuni-san had done decades earlier, cocky Tsuchiya started drifting around the courses. In fact, his drifting antics had become so captivating and outrageous that fans started calling him the Drift King.
You know what DK stands for? Donkey Kong. Drift King. Drift. What do you mean, drift?
truly put drifting and the Drift King on the world stage, however, was a little video called Plusby. Plusby was a collaboration between a few Japanese car magazines and showcased Tsuchiya carving up public roads in his famous black and white AE86. And despite looking like a home video, Plusby went viral before going viral was even a thing. Crazy petrol heads around the world just had their minds blown and set out to replicate what they had just seen. Eventually, the video made its way into the hands of the Japanese authorities, and as you might expect, they were not happy. They immediately demanded that the tapes get taken down. But, as with most attempts at censorship, it kinda backfired, and the controversy only made Plusby more desirable. The authorities, however, were not going to give up that easily, and in a last-ditched effort suspended Tsuchiya's license, which also prevented him from racing. But it was too little too late. By now, drifting was already popular, and grassroots events started popping up all over Japan and the rest of the world. Admittedly, not all of these events were exactly legal, but what can you do? In 1988, drifting went mainstream when Initial D was released, and by 2001, the first professional drifting series, D1 Grand Prix, was founded by none other than Tsuchiya himself. Later that year, drifting reached Hollywood when The Fast and Furious hit theaters, absolutely rocketing the sport's popularity with Western fans. Drifting officially reached the US in 2003 with the creation of Formula Drift, bringing in even more Western eyeballs and legitimizing drifting as a real motorsport. And the rest is truly history. Since then, drifting has snowballed into the global phenomena it is today. The rise of YouTube and other social media has only made it easier for street racers to share their exploits. So there you have it. Drifting was actually started out of boredom and made its way from the track to the street to the screen and eventually into the hearts and minds of petrol heads around the world. If you enjoyed this video, feel free to subscribe, and if there are any other topics you'd like to see me cover, let me know in the comments below.